My name's Nora. My life has been pretty complicated, if that's even the right word to describe it. It's always full of drama, and 9 out of 10 times the drama is in my family. Now, I don't have a big family, so you can imagine that it's mostly just a few individuals instigating things constantly. One of these individuals happened to be my grandpa, and this is the story of how my grandparents got divorced while being on 2 separate continents. I have a very close, almost parental relationship with my grandparents. You see, my mother got pregnant when she was 17. Obviously, neither of my grandparents approved, but they couldn't just kick out their pregnant daughter. My granddad tried for days to get my mom to let go of the pregnancy, especially because my biological dad ran off as soon as my mom told him she was having his baby. My mom was adamant about keeping me, and there was nothing my granddad could do to sway her decision. They let her stay with them, but told her that she would be responsible for me after birth and that they would only help her with half of the expenses. Taking care of and raising me were fully her responsibility. Well, apparently my mom was more than ready to graduate high school and then become a full-time mom while working part-time. My mom and my grandparents made a deal that my grandparents would only look after me while my mom was at school. My dad made all these big plans for our future, but unfortunately none of them were able to come true for her. While giving birth to me, she ended up having some severe complications. She was bleeding way too much, and the doctors told her that she had to either give up on the baby or her life. Well, you can guess which one she did. It was tragic. My grandparents were inconsolable but chose to raise me themselves. They never shied from telling me my mom's story because they didn't want to take her memory away from our family. They raised me to know that I was their granddaughter and not their daughter. In that aspect, I'm really grateful that my grandparents stepped up for me. What I'm not so grateful about was the fights that I had to witness between them while I was growing up. I'm not talking about small spats here and there. No, I'm talking about these huge screaming matches that, more often than not, ended with things in the house being broken. These fights usually started with something really small and escalated really fast. I remember one day when I was about 15 years old, my grandparents had a particularly bad fight. My grandpa stormed out of the house. I remember my heart pounding because every time they fought, I got really anxious. About 15 minutes after my grandpa left, my grandma knocked on my door. She asked if she could come in. When I nodded, she walked in and sat right next to me on the bed. "Hi, darling. How are you doing?" "Good, I guess." "I'm sorry you have to keep hearing us fight this way." "It's okay, I guess. Were you and Grandpa always like this?" No, we were not. It started up a few years ago." "Few as in 15 years ago, around the time I was born?" "Yes, but I know where you're going to go with this, and no, it's not because of you. We will never regret having you. What we do regret is not taking proper care of your mom when she was pregnant with you. Her death took a toll on both of us. You just happened to get caught in the crossfire. Sometimes it just feels like you guys would be better if I wasn't here as a constant reminder of what you lost, you know?" "Oh, honey, never ever think like that. I can assure you that I have never once wished you weren't a part of my life. Raising you has been the one thing that has kept me going, and it'll be the thing that will keep me going till the end of my time." "You sure?" "Absolutely, honey. I love you, and that will never change, okay?" While that conversation helped me deal with my emotions, it didn't really help my grandparents' relationship. They continued to fight like cats and dogs. My granddad would spend most days out of the house than in. I never knew where he was going, but somehow every time he returned home, he would seem a lot more mellowed out. He wouldn't pick a fight with my grandma for a couple of days, which was honestly a record in our house. This cycle continued for the next couple of years, except I noticed how it was always my grandpa instigating these fights over the years. My grandma got quieter. She didn't respond to any of Grandpa's jibes or insults. That only infuriated Grandpa even more, which meant he left the house to go spend time wherever else he usually went. Under usual circumstances, I would have been happy that my grandparents weren't fighting as much, but this wasn't a mutual change. My grandma seemed sad. Her change was visible in general. She stopped cooking these elaborate meals that she used to love to make. She stopped going out to hang out with friends, and she barely looked at me. I knew that something was wrong, so I tried to talk to her about it. "Grandma, is everything okay?" "Yeah, dear. Why would you ask me that?" "No, it's just you aren't really responding much to anything Grandpa's saying." "Aren't you glad we aren't fighting?" "Well, yeah, but you seem sad. In general, you don't feel like the grandma I know and love. That's why I'm asking you if everything's all right." "Well, I would love to lie and say that everything's okay, but I don't like hiding things from you." "What happened? How bad is it?" "It's pretty bad, but again, I don't think you're old enough to know." "What happened to not wanting to hide things from me? Plus, I'm 18. "I don't know. Forgive me, my head's too much of a mess right now to keep track of what I'm saying." "Is there any way I could help you out at least, Grandma?" "I'm afraid not, but don't focus on it. I'll be fine. I just need some time to process everything." "If you're sure." "Yes, dear. Just focus on getting into a good college and living your life." I did as she wanted. I felt bad that I was ignoring her, but no matter how much I tried to talk to her, she always brushed me off and told me not to worry. I focused on my college applications, and eventually I ended up getting into a great college in the same state, but a couple of hours' drive away. Grandpa had gotten really angry with my grandma and had left the house for nearly a month. At that time, Grandma helped me find a place to stay at and helped me settle in for college. I was upset with Grandpa, but he never viewed me as someone who could hold opinions. If I ever tried to talk to him, he would tell me to stay in my place and not interfere. And I guess that was the way things were for the next 2 years. Grandpa barely kept any contact with me. It hurt, but after a few months, I kind of got used to it. Grandma would visit me every 2 weeks and stay with me for a week. I began to actually look forward to spending time with her because I realized her being away from home was making her become her old self. Every time we spent time with each other, we would talk about what was going on in our lives. That's usually when I found out what Grandma and Grandpa were arguing about at that time. On this one particular visit, Grandma told me that they were fighting over me. "What do you mean you guys are fighting over me?" "Well, not necessarily you per se, but it includes you." "What is it then?" "Your granddad's upset that I'm spending so much time with you." "Huh, you're joking, right?" "I wish I was." "That's really funny because it's not like he loves to pick fights just so he can get out of the house." "Tell me about it." "And he could occasionally come to visit me, but he chooses not to. He has some nerve to pick a fight with you based on that." "I'm so sorry that he's been neglecting you. I've tried talking to him, but he always gets angry and then, well, you know what happens." "It just sucks. I feel like Grandpa's upset with me." "Oh no, I promise you that Frank's not upset with you. He's just being difficult." "Still, the audacity he has to complain about you spending time with me hurts." "I'm sorry about everything. I really am. I wish I could change things." "It's okay. I need you to not change. You're the only family I have that actually cares about me. Remember my promise. I love you and nothing will ever change that. I'll always be here, okay? I was still upset about my grandpa's issue with my grandma by the time she left. I mean, both of them raised me, so why would it be a problem for Grandma to spend time with me? And it's not like I never made an effort to get in touch with him. Every time I tried to call him, I would go straight to voicemail, or he would speak to me for barely half a minute before hanging up on me. I just wished with every fiber of my being that whatever my grandpa said didn't affect my grandma in any way. Unfortunately, the universe has very rarely worked in my favor. Grandma was supposed to visit me 2 weeks later, but she never did. I thought that things might have gotten bad at home, so she would come visit me a week later. But that never happened either. I tried to call back home, but no one answered. I got scared. I was in the middle of my midterm, so I couldn't even leave to go back home. But as soon as I gave my last midterm, I rushed back. I walked into my home and was shocked by the state of it. It was a mess. There was shattered glass everywhere. The few dishes that weren't broken were dirty and unwashed. There was dust collected on every surface. This was never what the house looked like. One of my grandparents always cleaned up after a fight. I walked around the house just taking in the sight of it. I walked up to my grandparents' bedroom and saw my grandma just sitting in bed, staring at a framed photo of her and Grandpa from when they were younger. Grandma? Oh, Laurie, oh my gosh, you almost gave me a heart attack. Sorry, I was just worried. You didn't visit last month and no one was picking up the phone. I'm sorry, dear. A lot has been going on here and I wasn't in the right mind. Why won't you just tell me what's wrong? You've been suffering in silence for years and I can't take it anymore. Just tell me, please. Well, I guess you're old enough. It's embarrassing, okay? Grandma, we're family. Nothing's embarrassing for us. You're right, I guess. You remember how you asked me a couple of years ago before you got into college why I was so upset? Yes. And you know how Grandpa leaves to go somewhere every time we have a fight? Yeah, where does he go off to? Apparently his mistress's house. What? Come again? I found out a while ago. I found emails between the two of them. I just didn't know how to process it. I can't believe him. I mean, I knew we were fighting a lot and nothing good would come out of that, but this was a whole new level of pain. Why haven't you left him? Because he wouldn't have any place to be. I know I sound stupid, but we signed prenups before getting married. Everything is in my name. Poor man won't have anywhere to go. I don't know whether to feel pain or anger. Just promise me that if he does anything too bad, you'll leave him. But what if he has no place? I don't care. You deserve better than this. I guess you're right. I stayed with Grandma for that week. Grandpa wasn't there. I was grateful for it because I really didn't know how I would react to him. I helped Grandma clean the house up and listen to her rant about her feelings. It hurt me to see my grandma crying. I hardly ever saw her cry, but the few times I did see her cry, it was only my grandpa that was the reason. It sucked that he was always the reason for all these negative emotions. I wanted to stay another week so I could catch Grandpa and give him a piece of my mind. But Grandma insisted I go back to college and work on my own things. She promised that she would come to visit me in 2 weeks. I went back to my flat, but I couldn't help but feel the need to track down my grandpa. I was okay with a lot of the things that went on in my house, but cheating? That was a hard no. I hated that Grandpa was putting Grandma through that, and Grandma was almost too nice about the whole thing. If I was in her place, I would have let go of Grandpa as soon as I found out that he was cheating on me. The next week, I spent all my time catching up with all the classes I missed. I stayed up most nights to catch up and even get a little ahead of every class. That weekend, I decided to try and catch a little catnap to prepare myself to stay up all night. Right as I was about to fall asleep, my doorbell rang, and it kept ringing until I got to the door. I was already cranky because of tiredness, and at that moment I was so close to knocking whoever was outside my door unconscious. I opened the door, ready to yell, but stopped dead in my tracks when I saw my granddad standing there. My grandma was standing right behind him. She looked like she had been crying, and she refused to look at me. "Grandpa, how come the sudden visit? Did you suddenly remember me?" "Spare me the drama, Laurie. I'm here to drop her off." "Grandma? Why?" "Oh, so you suddenly don't have time or space to spend on your grandma?" "Okay, that's enough. You have no right to talk to me like that when she was the only one who actually cared about me." "I don't care. I'll be back in 8 months. Take care of her." Wait, hold up. Where are you going?" "A world tour with a friend who's currently waiting for me at the airport. Bye." With that, he left. I ushered my grandma inside. I carefully took her bags out of her hands and kept them in the spare bedroom she always used whenever she stayed over. I hugged her and just let her cry for a while. I made her a hot bath and just let her relax. I figured the last thing she wanted to do was talk. Even though my curiosity was killing me, my grandma's well-being came first. After I was sure Grandma was doing better, I asked her what was going on. "So, this friend that Grandpa's going on a trip with, is it his mistress?" "Yeah. I wish this wasn't my life, but here I am." "I don't mean to be that person, but why didn't you stop him? I mean, there should have been something you could have said or done to stop him." "You know what I realized on the drive here? You were really, really right. I deserve better than this. I've given my all to this man, and in return he's broken my trust and made my life miserable. I needed to do something worse for him." "What are you talking about?" "Oh, I'm going to make sure he never comes back. He'll rot wherever he's stuck. And the best part is I know that his mistress is only with him for the money. Once that money goes, so will she. He'll be left all alone." "I like this plan. I'll help you in any way possible, but for now, you need to get some rest." We spent the day just lazing around and watching some stupid reality TV. We cooked our favorite meals and talked for a long while. I was glad to have my grandma back. The possibility of getting revenge brought about a new surge of energy in Grandma, and I loved to see it. The next day, we got to work on our plan. Grandma told me that Grandpa was using money from their joint account to fund his trip for him and his mistress. I didn't think Grandpa could shock me anymore, but I was clearly wrong. I wanted to find him and yell at him until my throat was sore. Grandma felt the same, but she had already been doing that for years. She decided instead to withdraw all the money from the joint account. Every investment they made and every asset they bought through their joint account, she sold over the rest of the week. By the start of the next week, Grandpa would have nothing for himself. Based on his transactions, we knew that he was in Sri Lanka. Well, we wished him all the luck in the world getting out of there. Grandma contacted one of her many lawyer friends and started the process of filing for divorce. She also had lawyer friends in Sri Lanka. She contacted them to have the divorce proceedings legal either way. Her lawyer would have the papers sent to that lawyer's office in Sri Lanka. Through their contacts, they would track Frank and hand him the papers. Grandma and I were upset by everything we had to do. We were letting go of someone who was an important part of our lives just because he wanted to satisfy his desires. He let go of an entire family. We didn't have to wait too long to hear news about Grandpa. The lawyer in Sri Lanka told us that they had managed to track down Grandpa at a hotel while he was arguing with the hotel receptionist about his card payment. He was escorted to the police station where the lawyer presented him with the divorce papers. Grandpa apparently threw a whole tantrum and asked to contact Grandma, but the time difference made it impractical. They had him sign those papers and let him go. The lawyer had a PI follow Grandpa around. Initially, his mistress was happy he was free from Grandma, but she quickly realized that Grandpa was broke. It barely took her a day to pack all her things and leave. Grandpa tried to contact us, but we never picked up any of his calls. It hurt to do that to him, but he had been hurting Grandma for much longer. You know, I learned a lot of things from my grandma, but the most important thing is how to be kind, yet how to know your worth. Grandma held on for as long as she could for the man she loved. She gave him chance after chance. But when he took it too far, she knew exactly how to get back at him. I guess the saying is right. Hell really hath no fury like a scorned lover. My grandma proved it through and through. We took time after that to heal and hold each other whenever the hurt got too much. We didn't care to find out how Grandpa got back because even if he did, he would not be able to live where he used to. With every day that passes, we grow stronger. I hope you enjoyed listening to our story. Hello, my name's Nessa and I'm 26 years old. I just got married. It was the best thing that happened to me this year. But while I got married, my father-in-law, Jerry, decided to divorce his cruel wife, Lily. And he announced it at my wedding. While the normal reaction would be to get angry for stealing the spotlight, my husband and I were overjoyed with Jerry's decision. Let me tell you how this happened. My husband, Ryan, and I met when we were in middle school. I know. We've known each other for a very, very long time. The thing is, we only started dating in our senior year of high school. We were best friends before we started dating, and so it was such a natural transition into a relationship. Our parents never knew of each other because we somehow never bothered to have each other over at our places. We always met up at school or the parks. The first time we did introduce each other was about 4 months into dating. My parents had heard a lot about Ryan, but never actually got to meet him. So obviously they were very glad to meet him. Before meeting his parents, Ryan did tell me that his parents, especially his mom, were a handful. There's a reason I've always been hesitant about telling my parents about you. What is it? My parents aren't what you'd expect. What? Are they aliens? They might as well be, if I have to be honest. Oh, that bad. No, okay. I may be exaggerating, but my dad's amazing. He's this really happy-go-lucky guy that loves to make a good joke. My mom, on the other hand, yeah, she's kind of a handful, to put it lightly. I'm definitely excited to meet your dad, but should I be worried about your mom? Honestly, yeah. But no matter what she says or does, it won't change anything between us. You just keep being yourself and we'll be fine. Okay, I'm scared, but I'm going to trust that this won't change us. I promise it won't change us. Ryan was right to warn me. Meeting his parents was beyond awkward. His dad was nothing like he'd described. Jerry was very closed off. He was quiet and reserved. Even if I directed a question towards him, he would answer in one-word replies. Ryan's mother, Lily, on the other hand, was the stuff nightmares are made of. She was loud and obnoxious. She tried many, many times to invade my personal space and privacy. She had no filter and just said the first things that came to her mind. Ryan had to politely ask her to shut up every time, while his dad, Jerry, looked at Lily with this look of utter exhaustion. After that first meeting, Ryan was obviously embarrassed. He apologized profusely and promised me that he wouldn't mind if I never wanted to see his parents ever again. I wasn't going to do that, though. The family was family. They had their quirks, but they always had your back. I wasn't going to rob Ryan of that kind of support. The day after I visited Ryan's parents, Ryan called me to tell me that his dad wanted to meet us at our local cafe. I was surprised because honestly, I couldn't imagine the quiet man from yesterday ever wanting to speak up. But I did go there to meet him. Hey, son. Hi, Nessa. Hi, Dad. Hi, Jerry. Why the sudden secret meeting? Unless... Oh God, is Mom coming? No, I wanted to meet you guys here for that reason. I wanted to apologize to Nessa. Me? But why? Just for the way things went yesterday. I know that the way Lily behaved was completely unacceptable, and my not saying anything either wasn't good. I would have stepped up, but yesterday I was just at my limit with her. Oh, it's okay. There's nothing for you to apologize for. You did your best and you've made up for it. Son, you picked a good one. I like her. So how long have you two known each other? Since we were in 7th grade. Seriously? And how come we've never heard of this beautiful and amazing woman? You saw why last night, Dad. Touché. After that, we kind of just hung out for a while. Jerry did turn out to be a little like what Ryan had described him to be. He just looked very tired, and I really just wished the best for him. He didn't deserve somebody like Lily. Of course, I never said that to either Ryan or Jerry, but I did hope at least one of them was thinking the same as me for their own sanity. In our 2nd year, we had to move out of our dorms, so we moved in together. Let me tell you, living with Ryan was just like living with my best friend, maybe because he was my best friend first. Anyway, it was an amazing shift because we got to spend even more time together. Throughout college, Jerry would set up these secret meetings for us to hang out and catch up. At first, I was nervous, but the more I hung out with Jerry, the more comfortable I got. Like, I could poke fun at him without feeling shy at all. He was actually turning out to be a great guy. After we graduated, Ryan and I waited another 2 years to get our financial stability and settle into adulthood fully. Once we had gotten to a comfortable place, Ryan proposed to me. Obviously, I was over the moon about it. We remained engaged for a whole year because we had to juggle wedding planning, work, and budgeting. Thankfully, Jerry had our backs. He didn't tell Lily anything because none of us wanted her to try to sabotage our big day. But when we did send the invitations out, Lily was furious. We told her it was going to be a small event, so there was no need for an extra hand. I don't know how, but she calmed down and let the topic go. Then finally came the day of my wedding. The first half of the ceremony went off without a hitch. It was honestly a magical moment, walking down the aisle in front of all of our guests and then standing next to Ryan, who was crying. I shed a lot of tears of my own too. Everyone teared up when we read our vows and cheered when we were officially pronounced husband and wife. The only person who looked out of place was Lily. While she wasn't very vocal about her disapproval of the wedding, she definitely did some things to let everyone know about it. She was constantly rolling her eyes, sighing really loud, and at one point during my vows, she even snickered. But Ryan and I just overlooked her antics because we knew the day was about us. When it was time for the reception, everyone arrived looking immaculate. Ryan and I were showered with congrats and praises. We kicked off the reception with a dance and drinks. Needless to say, everyone was happy. Well, except you know who. At least this time, everyone had the choice to steer clear of her, so she mostly stood in a corner all by herself. Jerry tried to get her to join the dance floor, but she adamantly refused. Finally, it was time for toasts. All the guests were seated at their tables. Ryan was the first to get up and give a toast to us, and I followed next. I think it was safe to say that both of us were in tears. Then went our maid of honor and best man. I mean, up until it was Lily's turn, I was a mess of tears and my stomach hurt from laughing. However, as the time drew nearer for Lily to make her toast, a part of me began to panic. She had constantly tried to sabotage this wedding. It was pure genius of Ryan and I's part to hire security and get them to keep an eye on her. Well, when the time finally came for Lily to speak, Ryan and I held each other's hand and squeezed tight. I was glad that I wasn't the only one feeling nervous about this. I didn't want Lily to say something that would get her kicked out because I knew she loved Ryan and I knew that this event meant a lot to her because she had always dreamed of going to her child's wedding. So literally, for her sake, I hoped she didn't mess it up. Hello everyone, I'm so glad to be here. For the few of you who don't know, I'm Ryan's mother. It's truly a pleasure to be here attending my baby's wedding. Although if Nessa had allowed me to help her plan this wedding, I would have definitely invited a lot more people. But you know what? It's their big day, so I'll let it be. Anyway, I'm happy that my son's happy. I wish he would have found someone a little, prettier. No need for the gasps. We were all thinking it anyway, but here's to us welcoming the ugliest member into our family. No, give me the mic. I can't let Lily say something like that. That's not very nice. But Ryan and Nessa, I truly am happy for both of you. Nessa, you are a brilliant and strong woman. I mean, you've dealt with everything that Lily has thrown at you with so much grace. It's crazy. I would have not invited her, but you are such a gracious young lady that you don't deserve this kind of treatment. I'm also really happy to see my son so happy. It's been a while since I saw that, and clearly not everyone can appreciate that properly. So I don't know about welcoming the ugliest member into our family, but I do know that we're letting go of one. Here, in my hand, are divorce papers for Lily. What? You can't do that? I'm sick and tired of the way you've been treating Nessa. I don't want to have to deal with you anymore. And I think Ryan and Nessa would be more than happy to let you go too. Actually, I think everyone here will be happy to watch you leave. Am I right? The crowd erupted in cheers. Lily looked like she was going to cry. Jerry smirked as he walked over to her and threw the divorce papers on the table in front of her. Lily tried to grab his arm to yell at him, but he cleverly sidestepped her and made his way back to his seat. Ryan and we were gobsmacked. I literally can't think of any other word to describe what we felt at the moment. For me, I was initially really hurt when Lily said what she said. I was already signaling to security to get her out, but to see Jerry stand up for me and slap her with a divorce? I was stunned. Ryan was in the same boat. He went from angry to shocked. Although at that moment I was sure he was also secretly happy. Lily began screaming about how I had brainwashed everyone in the room. She began yelling that she was warning everyone and that they would live to regret their mistakes. She, and kid you not, climbed onto the table to make her points. Obviously, we weren't going to let that fly, so Ryan called for security to escort her out. But obviously, Lily wouldn't just leave without a fight. She began kicking and thrashing about to make it even harder. The security guards had literally to drag her out of the hall. I was honestly scared of her in that moment. Never in my life had I ever met anyone that insane. Everyone just watched in amusement and fear as Lily's screaming only got louder as she got further away from us. I even saw a bunch of people filming her. I was embarrassed for her, but at the same time, I was glad she finally got what she deserved. The rest of the wedding went off really well. Ryan and I didn't even realize just how tense we were because of his mother until she left. I mean, suddenly we felt lighter and we were able to enjoy our own wedding. At some point, I did approach Jerry to ask him if he was doing all right, and he gave me the most enthusiastic yes. I was glad he finally looked happy. By the time the wedding was done and Jerry and I had reached back home, we were way too exhausted to really discuss any of the things that transpired at our wedding. We invited Jerry to spend the night over at our place because we were sure he didn't want to go back home to Lily. The next morning, The three of us talked over coffee. "Good morning, Jerry. Did you sleep well?" "Ah, here come the newlyweds. Yes, I did sleep well. Did you guys?" "Yep, we slept so well that we don't even remember falling asleep." "Ha, that's good. But I do have something to ask you guys." "Yes?" "Well, I was kind of awake for a while last night because I was thinking about a lot of things, and I don't know if I overstepped and caused a scene on your big day. So I'm sorry for, "Oh, no, it's all okay. In fact, I was really happy that you stood up for me." "Yeah, and we don't mind a scene, especially when it's to remove the most toxic person in our lives." "Okay, I'm glad that you didn't have a problem with it. I was just tired, I've been covering for her for so long. I've been dealing with her nonsense for even longer." "Why did you even stay with her, Dad?" "If I'm being really honest, I was going to leave your mom, but then she got pregnant. I didn't leave because I didn't want you growing up without a father. Plus, I always wanted a kid. I tried my best to give you a childhood that didn't include any of your mother's stupid antics and ideologies, and then I figured that if I could stick it out for so long, I could continue. I mean, I was used to her, and change was terrifying. But then you guys got together and your mother's behavior got uglier, and I didn't think it was even possible. That's why I'm sorry I had to take a step on your wedding." "You have nothing to apologize for. You did your best all throughout my life. You sacrificed so much for me. The least I could do was allow you to shed off your biggest burden on a day when I get to start a family of my own." I don't know when, but at some point during the conversation, I started tearing up. I mean, Jerry is just the nicest guy. I can't believe everything he'd put up with Lily for so long. Once you get used to the toxicity, normalcy seems scary, but I was actually, from the bottom of my heart, really happy for Jerry. Jerry and Ryan shared an emotional hug before the three of us decided to get dressed up and head out for breakfast. We enjoyed breakfast with Jerry. I was finally able to see the happy-go-lucky man that Jerry had always described to me. It was actually crazy to see how much Lily had robbed him of. We returned back home with smiles and laughter, but that was pretty short-lived. We saw Lily sitting at our doorstep looking furious. I could sense how all three of our moods just dropped. We were glad she was going to be out of our lives, but at the same time, none of us really wanted to deal with her this soon. I guess it was better to get things done sooner rather than later. We parked our car and made our way over to her. We let her in and sat down to talk. Before any three of us could say a word, Lily glared and pointed her finger at me. You are the reason my precious family is falling apart." "Lily, I didn't even save it. You've been nothing but a thorn in my side. It wasn't enough to steal one man in my life. You had to take both of them." "Mom, do you even know how insane you sound? Look at what you've made him into." "I've had enough of this. If you came here to yell and blame Nessa, clearly yesterday taught you nothing." "I didn't only come here for Nessa. I came to talk to you as well. I mean, what did you even think you were going to achieve by pulling a stunt like that?" "A stunt?" "Yeah, you call me ugly and threw fake divorce papers. Get back home and I will have a word with you." "Lily, that was no stunt. That was all real. I am asking to divorce you. I'm sick and tired of you, and I meant every word I said yesterday." "You're divorcing me because I'm ugly? You spent years pining over me? You know I'm not ugly. Besides, if Ryan can stay with Nessa, you can definitely overlook my appearance." "Do you really not hear how obscene you sound? You may not be ugly on the outside, but you definitely have the ugliest personality. You are mean, entitled, and just embarrassing to be around. I'm glad I pined after you because I got Ryan, but I do regret staying with you even after Ryan moved out." You can't be serious right now. Please don't leave me. I tried my hardest to deal with everything. I was ready to deal with you for the rest of my life. But seeing how happy and in love Ryan and Nessa were made me realize that I was sacrificing my happiness for literally nothing. Your little speech against Nessa only cemented it for me. I wanted to wait until we got back home, but I just couldn't. Mom, none of us want you here. Could you please leave? I will make your life hell, Nessa. Believe me, this is all your fault, and I will make you pay for it. That's enough now. I'll come pick up some of my stuff tomorrow, but after that I expect you to contact me only through my lawyer. Goodbye. I was really relieved that Lily left without causing much of a scene. I was upset that she really had the nerve to come over to our place only to yell at me, especially when I really did nothing. But Jerry, Ryan, and I decided we needed to unwind, so we didn't really talk about it. Instead, we settled down to watch a TV series and just enjoyed laughing and spending time with each other. That night, Jerry did ask us if we had overstepped by assuming that we'd let him stay with us until his divorce was finalized, but we assured him that he had never overstepped and that we were going to be by his side until the end of it all. I mean, it was always just one thing after another with Jerry. I really was grateful that I was lucky enough to have such a good man in my life. The next few weeks were filled with trips to the courthouse. Lily tried her best to get a lot of Jerry's assets, but Jerry and her had signed a prenup, so it really was stupid of her to try and get some of it. It just ended up costing her much more than she would have gotten. Lily kept coming over to our place to harass us after the divorce was finalized. We had to get the police involved, and eventually, with their advice, we got a restraining order against Lily. It was sad to see what Lily had been reduced to. But karma always comes to bite you back. Right now, Jerry's moving back into his house. Lily has moved out and taken her things with her to God knows where. Ryan and I are helping Jerry move out and settle into his home again. Ryan is taking his parents' divorce much easier than one would have expected. His mother's treatment of me only solidified his distaste for her, and his dad standing up for me made him love his dad even more. At the end of the day, all of us are happier now. This entire experience only showed me just how much influence a person can exert on your mental state. So make sure to always surround yourself with the people who care for you and lift you up. Hello, my name's Val and I'm 34 years old. My mom passed away when I was only 5 years old. My dad raised me for the next 7 years all by himself. When I was about 11, my dad told me that he was seeing someone. I was a child and I didn't really care much for it. When I turned 12, Dad introduced me to his girlfriend and told me that they were going to get married soon. The first thought that I had was that his girlfriend was really young. Dad introduced us to each other and told me that her name was Jody. I later found out that Jody was only 10 years older than me. I remember I was a little freaked out by such a short age gap between us, but I eventually stopped caring about it. Jody and I didn't have the best relationship. She was overbearing and she kept trying to be my mother. I tried to talk to my dad about it, but he thought that Jody was right. I didn't like it, and as soon as I turned 18, I moved out. Although I did move out, I still had a really good relationship with my dad. We would go out to get lunch every other weekend. I remember initially Dad would try to get me to involve Jody in my life, but when he saw I wasn't budging, he dropped it. Although he would tell me about how much he loved Jody in the hopes that I would come around to liking her because he loved her. I was doing pretty great in my life, though. I managed to get a job at this reputed firm right out of college. I wasn't rich, nor was I living paycheck to paycheck. I was living comfortably. I had started saving right from the start, and in a couple of years, I was doing amazingly. When I was 28, My dad got into a freak accident and ended up passing away. Dad's passing away was devastating for me. I couldn't believe that this was what my life had come to. The only family member I had was gone. I was a mess. I cried myself to sleep every night and I barely could function in the morning. I was lucky enough to get a week off of work to grieve. I wasn't the biggest fan of Jody, but I knew she loved my dad, so I made sure to check up on her regularly. The first time I met her, she looked normal. I didn't expect her to be wearing all black and mourning at home, but I did expect her to look a little worse for wear. I knew for a fact my eyes were very puffy and they had the darkest circles around them. My nose was red and my skin was splotchy from all the tears. Jody, on the other hand, looked like she was completely fine. Okay, I know this is coming off as judgmental, but I kind of hope to feel like I wasn't the only one grieving so hard for the man who was my world. But my suspicions went away after a little bit when I sat down with Jody to talk and she began to cry. We spoke for a while about how great my dad was and how the world feels empty without him. After that first visit, I started to visit Jody a lot more. We would have tea together and just talk about everything that we were feeling. I thought we were beginning to finally develop a connection. I was tired of her trying to replace the role of my mother, so it was nice to have talked to her as just her. One particular day, when we were talking, she suddenly burst into tears. I was alarmed because we weren't even talking about anything emotional. I got up from my seat and made my way over to her to let her cry into my shoulder. When she calmed down a bit, I asked her what was wrong. Is everything okay? What's wrong? I just got a letter from the bank. Uh-oh, what did they say? You know how I have been super busy with taking care of your dad these past few months, along with taking care of all the medical expenses? Yeah, well, I haven't had much money to pay off our mortgage, which has now transferred to me. I don't even have a job. I'm going to be homeless. Oh, no. Is that what the bank told you? Yeah, they've given me 4 months to pay off all my dues. Of course, along with the 4 months mortgage payments as well. I don't have that kind of money. Your dad didn't even leave me that much. I know. It's okay. No, it's not okay. Calm down, Jody. I have some money in my savings. I can help you out. Really? You do that for me? Yeah, of course. You've become someone I've come to understand recently, and I value you a lot. Plus, Dad would have been happy with me for doing this for you. Thank you so much, Val. If I do help you with your payments, I have 2 conditions. Yeah? I can't rent a place and pay your mortgage. I will need to move in. Of course, honey. This house is yours, too. Great. Secondly, I can't keep paying off your mortgage. You need to find a job soon and start taking care of it. I can contribute half of it, but you'll still need to find a job. And over time, in the future, you'll need to pay me back, too. I promise I will. I did feel sympathetic towards Jody. Going from being financially stable to desolate is a very big and scary change. I couldn't have imagined what kind of anxiety Jody must have been feeling because of it. But I had quite a good amount in my savings. If there was one thing my dad taught me, it was always to have a good amount of savings because you never know when hard times will fall. Over the next week, I contacted Jody's bank and got to working around the mortgage repayments and having the foreclosure nulled. Jody hadn't paid the mortgage in 4 months, so there was that along with late fees and pre-foreclosure fees. In total, it racked up to be about $12,000. I had it in my savings, but it did make a pretty large dent in it. Jody was super grateful that I managed to help curb the foreclosure. She went all out and prepared a feast for me to say thanks. I was glad to see that she was actually being grateful because the Jody I knew before would have acted a little entitled to my help. Although I did remind her that she needed to start job searching soon. She promised me that she had already started looking for jobs. I also moved in with Jody. It was pretty interesting to live with her again. Jody was a lot more demanding than I remembered her being, but I didn't mind that. She was just demanding that the house be spotless, although she did try to get me to be that way about my room too, but I put her in her place by telling her that my room was mine and I liked it the way it was. I respected her wanting the common areas to be clean, and so she should at least respect my wish for my room to be the way I want it to be. She gave in, and I suspected that was only because she knew that the reason she had a house to be demanding about was because of me. We did have tiny spats every once in a while, but for the most part, it was good to live with her. Slowly but surely, the weeks turned into months and the months into years. After a year passed, I began to be frustrated with Jody for not finding a job. She kept telling me she was searching for one, but I never saw any results. Hell, I didn't even hear her mention having an interview even once. I confronted her about it, and she got very defensive. Jody, I don't mean to be that way, but when are you going to get a job? Do you think I'm not trying? No, that's not what I meant. It's just been a year since you promised me, and I just need to have a definite time for how long I have to keep paying the mortgage. I don't know when it will happen, okay? Have you had any interviews so far? No, but I haven't been getting any responses. How about you apply for a part-time job at least? Ugh, no way. I'm trying to help you out here. I can't keep paying your mortgage, Jody. If it's that much of a hassle for you, then don't do it. I'll just be homeless. It's fine. Whatever. I'm sure your dad would have been happy to see me struggling like that. No, it's okay. I'll keep paying. But I'm telling you, I can't keep doing this. Yeah, and I'll find a job. Just give me some time. It didn't click at that time, but for Jody to use my dad as a way to appeal to me was kind of messed up. I diligently paid off the mortgage for a while after that too. Jody did become a lot more overbearing after that. She began to get annoyed about when I got back home and who I hung out with during weekends. It irked me, but at first I didn't say anything. When she got out of hand, I stood up for myself and put her in her place yet again. She would always quiet down, but I would sense her dislike for me after. She would go weeks without properly talking to me, and I would feel so icky when I saw her the way she used to be when my dad was still alive. Regardless, I still helped her out. Another year passed and I decided to put my foot down. I never saw Jody make an effort to start working. I know it's wrong, but one day when she was out, I went through her emails on her laptop that she had left unlocked on her bed. I found out that in the past 2 years she had only applied to one firm, and that was also right after I agreed to help her pay off the mortgage. I was angry and disgusted with her ability to lie to me. After I had been so accommodating and nice to her, all she was doing was taking advantage of me. So when she came back home that night, I told her that I was no longer going to help her out. Needless to say, Jody did not take that well. How can you do this to me? I've given you 2 years to figure your things out. You've refused every form of advice I've given you, and you haven't made any effort to actually get your life together. You really think I haven't been making any efforts? Jody, I know you aren't making any effort. You're just making false accusations. All right, then why don't you show me all the places you've applied to this year? That's an invasion of my privacy. Look, I'm glad that you and I have been able to develop a pretty good relationship in the past few years, and I'm glad that I have been able to help you out. But I need to start looking out for my future too. I have never wanted to own my own house, and I hate that I'm stuck paying for something that has never been part of my plan. Oh God, what am I going to do? Jody sobbed for a long while, and it did get to me. Although that night I left her there because I was still angry with her. I decided to do a little research to maybe help Jody out. I knew that I couldn't keep providing for her, so if there was any way she could keep herself afloat, I'd like to be able to help her find it. The next day, Jody refused to talk to me, but I asked her if she would just listen to me. I informed her that she should file for bankruptcy so she could get an extension on the loan payments and even get time off from paying it for about 5 years. Jody finally acknowledged me and asked me if I could help her out with filing the paperwork. Of course, I told her that I would help her, and we spent the next few weeks getting everything approved. Once Jody was free of her mortgage payments for the next 5 years, I told her that she still had to get back on her feet once again. Jody coldly told me that she had things under control now and asked me to move on. Well, that hurts. But I guess that was what happened when you stop letting someone use you. I moved out within the next month and I was doing good once again. My finances were back on track. I was able to get a promotion at work about 2 years after I moved out from Jody's place, which allowed me to save even more money and even make some big investments. Jody and I barely kept in contact. She didn't make any effort to contact me, but I tried because at the end of the day, she was my dad's wife and he loved her dearly. I would ask her how she was doing, and if she managed to find another job, she would always speak coldly towards me and tell me to mind my business. Even though I was upset about her behavior initially, I just kind of let it go after a while. My life was going on pretty well until one day, about 5 months after Jody's bankruptcy period was done, Jody showed up at my door. Now, I was surprised because I did not expect her to be there. I hadn't spoken to her for the past few months. I had an inkling about what she wanted, so I prepared myself to stand my ground and tell her that I wasn't going to help her out in any way. I invited her in, and when I took a better look at her, she looked like an absolute mess. Her hair looked like a mess, she lost a lot of weight, and she looked like she hadn't slept in months. Things look like they're going really rough for you. Is everything okay? No, I'm struggling a lot. I'm so sorry to hear that. Yeah, after you left, I sort of went down this whole spiral. At least when you were there, I wasn't fully alone, but after you left, I realized just how alone I was. I tried to reach out to you, but you always pushed me away. I know, and I'm so sorry for that. I didn't mean to push you away and be so hurtful. I was just angry with a lot of things. Like what? I was angry with myself for being so alone. I was angry with your dad for leaving me alone, and I was angry that I was struggling so much. I get that. It's been 5 years and I still haven't been able to find a job. I've just been so depressed. I've nearly exhausted all the money your dad left me, and my family is cutting off helping me too. I tried to explain to them how I've been feeling, but they simply won't understand. In fact, they won't even listen to me. Oh, Jody, I didn't know you were struggling this much. And I hate constantly coming back to you. You've done the most for me, but if there's any way... I was torn. On one hand, I had made up my mind to not help Jody, but on the other hand, this was a woman who was struggling. I knew firsthand what depression could do to someone. I empathized with her. Before I knew it, I was telling Jody that I would help her again. Jody cried in joy and thanked me profusely. I was happy that I could help her out. I understood what she was struggling with, and I was never someone to leave someone stranded when they were clearly suffering. The next week, I was once again at the bank figuring things out for Jody. Turns out this time she hadn't made her mortgage payments for 5 months. I wondered why she didn't get her mortgage readjusted and maybe just reduce the monthly payments, but I just rationalized it by thinking that she was suffering too much to think clearly. As I went over Jody's mortgage, I realized she only had about $75,000 left to pay off, including her late fees and all that, to fully be done with her mortgage. Now, in the past 5 years, I had saved a lot more money, and I definitely had that amount in my account. I checked with Jody if she'd just want me to pay off her mortgage, and over time, she could pay me, and she cried. She asked me if that would be possible, and when I said it would, she promised me that she would pay me back. I told her I would get her promise in writing within the next week and then pay her loan off. I don't know how she did it, but she convinced me to pay her loan first and then make the contract with her. After I settled her loan, I made my way over to her place. There was an unfamiliar car parked in the driveway. The front door was unlocked, and when I walked in, I heard Jody laughing loudly along with the sound of another man. When I walked into the living room, I saw Jody sitting on another man's lap with her arms around him. That made me feel icky. Just a week ago, she was telling me about how much she had loved my dad and how she would never be able to get over him. She told me that my dad would have been very proud of me, and in general, she kept bringing up my dad. Looking back, that was probably her way of emotionally blackmailing me into paying off her loan. When Jody realized I was standing there, she laughed and pointed at me while she spoke to her partner. "Darling, look, that's the girl I was telling you about. She's the daughter of the man from whom I got this house. I tricked her into paying it off, and now we can live here happily." "What? What are you talking about?" "Oh, don't tell me you're really that stupid. You really think I couldn't get a job?" "I knew you could, and that's exactly why I stopped paying for you the first time around." "Oh, right. I put on that whole act and got you to pay it off." "That was an act?" "Ugh, of course." "Did you even love my dad?" "You, God, no. I just needed the money because I did not want to work. I was tired of constantly being tired, so I married an older man with money. Man, I really hoped he'd live longer." "You are sick. I can't believe I helped you out for so long. I can't believe my dad fell for you. Do you even know how much he loved you?" Yeah, I don't care. Say what you want. At the end of the day, I own a house, and that's all I care about. Plus, I get to live with my boyfriend here. I stormed out of the house. I felt my tears running down my face, and I wanted nothing more than to hurt Jody. How could she do something as vile as this? I knew I couldn't let Jody win that easily. I knew just how to get her off of her high horse. You see, since I was transferring a large amount, my bank was holding the money for a day to give me the opportunity to cancel the transaction. Jody didn't know about this, and if she had actually been smart enough, she would have waited to reveal her grand scheme. I was grateful she was stupid. I really was. I called my bank and canceled the transaction. I then blocked Jody's number and blocked her from all of my socials. I made sure that there was no way for her to reach me. I knew it would take another month or so for her to realize that the mortgage payment was not done, so I decided to move as well. I was hurting, but at the same time, I was glad I was able to give Jody a taste of her own medicine. I hoped that she would face the worst consequences, and from what I found out later, Jody's house did get foreclosed. I heard from various mutual friends and connections that she's been couch surfing for a while now. Her boyfriend left her, and she has no income as yet. She tried to badmouth me, but quickly realized that no one was siding with her. In fact, a bunch of them reached out to me to check on how I was doing. I felt like I had vindicated my dad by denying her the opportunity to own his house. I've learned to never let anyone use my emotions to appeal to me. People are crappy and will never miss out on an opportunity to use you. I've learned to let go once I've already been burnt because people rarely ever change. In a way, I guess I'm grateful for this experience. I will continue to live happily, and I will honor my dad's memories without letting them influence anything I do. Thanks for listening. Hi everyone, this is Tina. My life was seemingly perfect before I got married. I had a decent job and was all set to marry the man of my dreams. Let me give you some details about me. It will help you understand my story better. I belonged to a middle-class family. We had a good life with a quaint house in the suburbs. My life changed for the worse when I lost my parents after my high school graduation. I still blame myself sometimes, but with therapy, I have almost come to terms with it. After my parents passed away, I was brought face to face with reality. They did have a college fund for me, which I needed to use for funeral expenses. There was not much in savings because they had just purchased the house. So my dream of going to college ended there. I was left to fend for myself while also grieving my family. It pains me to even think of that time. I worked my butt off doing minimum wage jobs before landing a job as a receptionist. When my life was a little more stable, I met Jaden. I actually met him through a dating site and we quickly became close. He had a sister his age named Vienna. Vienna and I would go on to have an amazing friendship that is still the same even today. While his sister loved me a lot, his mother didn't. His mom was one of those controlling and overly entitled parents. She often made fun of me and mocked me for not going to college. She said, "I have no idea why Jaden likes you so much. Everyone in your family has been to college. We like having highly educated people in the family. Even Vienna is doing her major in business studies. It's a shame Jaden chose a dumb girl over so many people." I wanted to go to college, Esther, but after my parents' death, I had no money. There was no way I could have survived. Those are just excuses. My son and daughter both took out student loans to go to college. They didn't take the easy way by doing lowly jobs and ruining their lives. I didn't ruin my life, Esther. I worked a decent job and managed to stay afloat even after getting orphaned at 18. And I am helping Jaden pay back his debts by contributing more to the household. Around 1 year of dating, Jaden had suggested that he move in with me. His student debt was crippling him and he needed to cut down on his expenses. He did have a good job, but the loans were way too much to handle. So I allowed him to move into my house since we were going strong. I didn't let him pay rent and instead ended up footing the grocery bills. I also dipped into my savings to get his car fixed. He only paid towards his debts and gave money to his mother. So when Esther made fun of me, it really hurt. She tried to make me out to be a dumb girl who didn't deserve Jaden. She was right in a way. I didn't deserve Jaden. I deserved someone better. I just didn't know that then. Despite Esther's problems with me, Jaden married me. He loved his mother and never took a stand against her. Still, I married him. I was a stupid fool who thought that he would change and at least stand up for his wife. Well, he never did. Esther continued to insult me and take the money from her son while I footed all the bills in the house. She even moved in with a new boyfriend and made Jaden pay for his expenses too. It was a horrible situation for us. I stayed in that marriage for 2 years. I was determined to make it work. I was afraid to be alone. We fought a lot about his mother. I hated the fact that he never defended me. Jaden always ignored me and blamed me for creating problems. There is one other thing that we constantly fought about. Since Jaden was stuck paying his debts and helping out his mom, we would have to wait a long time to have a child. It devastated me, but I made my peace with it until one day Esther called everyone into her house and said, "So you must be wondering why I called all of you here. Well, I am pregnant." You will have a new sibling soon. I am having a baby boy. Wow, that's good news, Mom. Congratulations. You have to be kidding me, Mom. What were you thinking? You don't work and your boyfriend doesn't give you any money. How will you support this child? Vienna, this is a miracle child. You know I always wanted a third child, but never had the chance. I finally have my dream come true. Don't be so cruel. You were barely a good mother to us, Mom. Do you think you are an expert at raising children? This is not a freaking hobby. Who the hell will support you? I want no part of this. I'm telling you right now. Don't be such a witch, Vienna. We will all pitch in to help. This child will be special and won't have to ask for anything. I am confident Mom will be able to do it. I stayed silent because I didn't know what to say. I won't lie, but I felt like this was a slap in my face, and I agreed with what Vienna said. Esther depended on her children for everything, and now she was adding another member to our lives. Surprisingly, the father of the child wasn't in the house, which was very concerning as well. Somehow, I had the feeling that I was about to be in big trouble, and I was right. The next day, when I returned home from work, I found both Jaden and Esther waiting for me in my living room. I had no idea that Esther was coming to visit. I greeted them and they told me to sit down. Jaden said, "We have to talk about something, Tina. It's very important, so we need you to listen very carefully." "What is it, Jaden? What's the matter?" "You need to take a second job. Our expenses will increase a lot in the coming years." "What? Why? Are we making any big purchases or something?" "No, we will be taking in my mother and my new brother." Guys, at this moment, I felt like I was having a nightmare or something. My husband said this with a straight face, and my mother-in-law nodded with him. They looked at me as if it was their birthright to demand food and board from me, as if they are both entitled to my money. I wished that it was a bad joke, but no one laughed, and there was no hint of a smile either. After a while, it became awfully clear to me that they were not joking after all. I blinked a couple of times and said, "Let me just summarize this again. You two want me to get a second job so that I can take over the responsibility of Esther and her new baby?" "That's right, Tina." "Oh my God, finally you have got this one right. You are not that dumb after all. What you said is exactly what we want." "And what if I don't agree to this ridiculous request that feels more like an entitled demand?" "You have no way to say no, Tina. I already told Mom that she can move in with us. The baby will be here in a few months, and there are a lot of expenses before that." "Yes, there will be lots of expenses. We need to set up a nice nursery and a playroom for my son. I was thinking about converting Tina's study into a nursery, and I can move into the guest room, but you will have to buy a better mattress. It's super uncomfortable. Oh, and I need a monthly allowance for shopping. I need new maternity clothes and a child's clothes too." God, there is so much to do. I heard Esther rant about what she planned to do with my house and with my money. I was stunned to see that my dear husband agreed to all of her demands and decisions. Why won't he? It wasn't the money Esther was going to spend. It would be my money from 2 freaking jobs. My opinions here didn't matter. They didn't even ask for it. There were no requests, just demands. They continued to say, "As you can see, Tina, the baby does have a lot of expenses. You won't understand since you don't have children. So you absolutely need to take up a second job for Mom and her baby." "Yes, I'm sure you'll find some minimum wage jobs around. It doesn't have to be 2 jobs. You can also do 3, whatever pleases you." I don't think this is a good idea, guys. I'm already working a lot to support the 2 of us. Taking up 2 jobs for a baby who isn't even mine is just way too much to expect from me. When I said this, there was a stunned silence on their end. Jaden and Esther both looked at me with angry expressions on their faces. Their faces made it seem like I told her to get rid of the baby or something. I had simply said that I didn't want to shoulder Esther and the baby's expenses for who knows how long. But Jaden and Esther both jumped on me with their rage. They said, "I already told you, Tina. There is no way for you to say no. This is the only way that we can afford to raise this child." "Do you see that, Jaden? Tina wants me to get rid of my child." "Oh my God, how can you be so cruel, Tina? Just because you don't have children, that doesn't mean no one else would." "What the hell, Esther? I never said that. I don't have a baby because I want to be financially stable to take care of it. If you want to keep your child and raise him, then why don't you get your own job?" "Are you telling my poor old mom to get a job? Didn't you hear what the doctors said? This is a high-risk pregnancy. We can't let her work or do anything around the house. Mom is having a miracle child. We need to step in and help her." "But no one else is pitching in for the baby. I will be the one to work 2 jobs and provide for everyone. And I will be the one doing house chores for 4 freaking people. Who knows, I will be told to babysit too." "It's not babysitting when you're doing it for the family. You are bound to look after the baby. He will be your new brother-in-law. Vienna will also come and help at times." "I highly doubt that, Esther. She already told us that she wants no part of this problem. The most she can do is pay a small amount for hospital bills. I can't blame her. She has just started working and had student loans." "I have student loans too, Tina. That's why you have to get 2 jobs to help. Since you didn't go to college, it won't hurt you to join minimum wage jobs. I don't want to ruin my reputation by doing that." I don't know which was worse, the entitlement or the insults against me. They wanted me to work like an ass because I don't have a fancy college degree. Apparently, I have no self-respect, while it will kill Jaden to take up small jobs even after having a college degree. I wanted to laugh and cry at the same time. Meanwhile, Esther and Jaden continued to rant about how this miracle child needed so much care and expensive stuff. My head was spinning, and I didn't know what to do. I decided that I needed to talk to Jaden separately, so I asked Esther to sit in the living room while I talked to Jaden privately. She protested, but this time I wasn't having it. As we went into the kitchen, Jaden said, "There was no reason to talk to me separately, Tina. I already told you what I wanted to tell you." "Yes, back there all you did was talk and tell me your demands. But what about my opinions, Jaden? Why didn't you consult me before deciding on your own?" "I didn't decide on my own. Mom was there to help me." "Really, Tina, this is the only way there is. We already told you that." "This is not the only way, Jaden. Esther can get a job, and so can you. Or you can make the baby daddy become responsible for the baby. Where the hell is he anyway?" "He will not be in the picture anymore. He left town yesterday. Mom can't be living alone in the house, so she is staying with us from tomorrow." "What the hell, Jaden? Why are you not suing the guy for child support and stuff? Just get a lawyer." "Mom doesn't want too much stress by bringing in the courts. If the father doesn't want to take responsibility, we will. We are her family after all." "You can't just say that, Jaden. I need time to at least think about it. You can't expect me to shoulder 2 new people in the house. What about our child? This will push back our timeline even more." "God, you are so selfish, Tina. It won't kill us to have kids later in life. This will be the last chance for Mom to have a baby. You know how obsessed she is with children. Don't be so selfish, Tina. We need to band together for this miracle child." "This might be a miracle for you, but it's a nightmare for me, Jaden. I am not being selfish. You are being the selfish and entitled one. Please, just give me some time to think about this. Jaden didn't say anything more and returned to the living room. There he was whispering and laughing with Esther on the couch. Meanwhile, I was freaking out with anxiety and paranoia. I really didn't want to be stuck looking after my mother-in-law and her newborn child. I saw no hope in this situation. So I went to my room, closed the door, and called Vienna. I knew she would understand the situation. I called her and told her everything. She said, "See that, Tina? This is why I told you not to marry my brother. He is nothing but a loser and a mama's boy. God, I can't believe they went this far. Their entitlement has truly gotten out of hand." What do I do, Vienna? Just thinking about the future is making me nauseous. I don't want to do this, Vienna. I'm tired of Esther and Jaden. I feel humiliated. Jaden even pushed back our timeline to have kids because of Esther. I can understand your pain, Tina, but you need to be strong. There is no way I will allow you to bend to their will. You need to reevaluate your marriage and see what you want to do. There is a reason why I have low contact with my family. It's time you stand up for yourself too. Vienna's words sparked something in me. It was true that Jaden never thought about anyone but himself and his mom. Hell, he didn't even care about his own sister. All these years I put up with Esther and Jaden did nothing to help. I let him take advantage of me for years. Now he was choosing his mom and new brother over me and our future child. I knew that it was the end of my marriage, but I had a hard time coming out of denial. The next morning, Esther happily moved her stuff into my house. There was a moving truck and everything in sight. I was at work when it happened and found out when I came home. Esther was on my couch smirking at me and sipping on her milkshake. I was furious and went to my room to confront Jaden. I said, "What the hell, Jaden? I only asked for a few days from you. You didn't even give me that. Have you no regard for my feelings? Your feelings here don't matter, Tina. My mom and her baby are more important. Their well-being is more important. What will you think about it anyway? I told you this is the only way. If you want to stay with me, you need to do this." So, that is your final decision, is it? You won't change your mind and won't even consider my feelings. Okay then. You want me to get a second job? Sure, let's do it. The baby and your mom do matter more to you after all. Jaden had his head in the clouds. He thought that I had finally stopped throwing tantrums and agreed to his decision. He hugged me and told me that he was proud of me. Then he went to spend time with his mother. I smiled at them and went to my room. I was going to get a second job after all. I may not have a college degree, but my years of experience mattered a lot. So I was actually able to find a managerial position at a local store. It had night shifts, and which meant it would fit in with my receptionist job just fine. I took that job and went for the interview the next day. I was hired, of course. I had worked there as an employee before. They knew me well. After getting the job, I went straight to a divorce lawyer. Yes, I was going to divorce that piece of crap. When I returned home, both Esther and Jaden swarmed me for information. What information, you may ask? Well, they wanted to know if I found a job or started to look for one. I told them, yes, I found a second job. It's a managerial position, so it pays well. There will be no problems for me. That is good news, Tina. See, it wasn't that difficult now, was it? So, when will you get the first paycheck? I have a ton of stuff to buy. I need the money soon. When will you be able to give me money? I looked at them with a confused expression on my face. I pretended to not understand what they were saying at all. Yes, I have a flair for drama. I was so done with them that I didn't feel any emotion towards them anymore. I said, sorry, Esther, I don't understand. Why would I give you money? You can ask Jaden. What? Why would she ask me? You took the second job to support Mom. You are the one who needs to give her money. You can give her some now from your first job as well. I never said that I got the second job for Esther. This has nothing to do with her at all. I took up a second job so that I could hire a lawyer. Why do we need a lawyer, Tina? I told you we cannot sue the father. It will be too stressful for Mom. We cannot risk that at all. The lawyer is not for Esther either, Jaden. The lawyer is for me. I will be filing for divorce. I have already talked to one, and I am also preparing an eviction notice. This house is not a marital asset, so I don't need to allow you to be here during the divorce. Plus, you earn more than me and have enough money to rent. You can move out within a month, and don't forget to take your mom as well. Hearing this, Jaden was shell-shocked. He went extremely silent, and Esther also did the same. The expression on their faces was super funny, but I held my laughter. I didn't want them to think that I was joking or something. After some time, Jaden and Esther started to shout at me, calling me names. They didn't like the fact that I talked about divorce and eviction. They thought that I was fretting them or something. That night, Jaden slept on the couch. The two continued to berate me throughout the week until the divorce and eviction papers arrived. That hit home the reality that I was truly kicking them out. Then they started to emotionally blackmail me. They said, "How can you do this to a poor child, Tina? I know that you hate me, but my child has done no wrong. Think about my poor child." I do feel bad for the child, Esther. He will end up having a useless mom and an equally useless brother. But that is none of my concern. I will be out of his life long before he is even born. How can you say that, Tina? Have you no heart? Where will we go? How will we take care of the baby? Your mom is a third-time mother, Jaden. I'm sure she knows how to raise a child. Only her daughter turned out right, though, but she doesn't even want to talk to her anymore. Jaden and Esther continued to hound me with their emotional blackmail. The good thing was that with 2 jobs, I was rarely home, and Vienna moved in with me to make sure they don't do anything stupid. Yes, she signed a lease and would be paying me rent too. She would now be my roommate till she gets married to her fiancé. I was glad to have her support in the house. Our divorce went to court because Jaden refused to sign the papers. I was able to provide documents to show financial abuse to some extent. That led to the judge allowing us a 6-month separation period. Jaden protested a little bit but didn't know what to do. When it was time for the eviction, both Esther and Jaden created drama. They alternated between berating me to begging me. I ignored them and forced them to move out. Lawyer fees were getting heavy on Jaden, and he tried to avoid drama. Not to mention that he now had to take responsibility for 3 people. Jaden realized the severity of the situation soon. Esther and Jaden did move in together into a small apartment. Soon, it became apparent to Jaden that he had messed up. He begged to come back to my house without Esther, but I shut him out. I stuck to my guns for 6 months, after which the judge granted me the divorce. I got alimony and half his savings. It was a full win for me. Jaden looked defeated when he left the court. By that time, Esther had already given birth to a healthy baby boy, and the entire financial burden was on Jaden alone. Vienna was not talking to them and refused to give any money. She did meet the child, though. She will be a caring aunt. She simply didn't want to reward Esther's bad behavior. She is still living with me, so I am not alone. I actually left my receptionist job because I am back in college. Yes, I finally decided to pursue my dreams now that I had the money. My new managerial position with the night shift was enough to sustain me while I went to classes in the morning. With the rent from Vienna and alimony from Jaden, I'm confident that I will be able to breeze through college without a problem. Keep me in your prayers. I'm Monica, 30 years old. Let's rewind to my childhood. I don't remember much from when I was born. I don't know who my biological parents were, and I never wanted to find out. I found myself in an orphanage surrounded by other kids with dreams and stories of their own. I held on to a hope that one day I would be chosen and my life would change forever. My lucky day came when I turned 10. A wonderful couple, Lisa and Robert, scooped me up and brought me into their family. I can still remember the butterflies in my stomach as I moved into their house. It was a place of new beginnings with every room full of possibilities. A couple of years later, our family grew yet again. Lisa and Robert decided to adopt a young boy named Austin, who was just a bit older than me. Life was all rainbows. It felt like being part of any regular family, doing regular things. I never felt like an outsider, and even though people around me would ask me if I was curious to know who my parents were, I simply said no, because I truly had no interest in getting to know the people who did not want me in their lives. In my head and heart, my real family was Lisa, Robert, and Austin. I was off to college, all pumped up to chase my dreams with the solid support of my parents, but life's a twisty road. It was a call from Austin. He hit me with some bad news. Our parents, Lisa and Robert, had been in a crazy accident. The world I knew, that bubble of their love, just popped. Their loss hit me harder than I could ever imagine. I realized Austin was the only family I was left with up until I met my husband, Brian. Brian and I had our own little love story centered around our shared passion for the piano. We met through our college's music club, and then when I was 24, I made a decision that was quick, almost impulsive. Brian and I had grown so close that it felt like the natural next step. We decided to get married. We were young and in love. After Brian and I got married, he landed a decent job and we moved into his mom, Bernice's house. It was all Brian's idea. He said that we would have a ton of rent money, which we could soon invest in our own place later on. Bernice had never really warmed up to me, but we managed to coexist under the same roof. She would often drop hints that Brian had settled down too early and should have explored more of life. But everything took a dramatic turn when I found out I was pregnant. Brian seemed happy when I told him the news, but I could not say the same about Bernice. Bernice, there's something we want to share with you. We're going to have a baby. A baby? You are having a baby? Yes, Mom. We're finally going to be a grandma. We are really excited about it. Excited? This is unbelievable. You don't even have a place of your own, and now you're bringing a child into this world? We are hardly keeping up with the bills in this house, for God's sakes. Mom, don't worry. We are finally moving out. We won't take up your space anymore. You know, Brian, before Monica came into your life, you were a bright student with so much potential. You had dreams, goals, and a future ahead of you. But now, you're going to be a dad and your life's been turned upside down. Mom, it's not that black and white. I still have dreams and I'm not giving up on them. My priorities have changed a bit. Priorities? What priorities, Brian? It seems like you have completely forgotten about me. I raised you when your dad left us. You brought this woman into my house, a woman whose own parents did not want her. And what happened to the ones who finally decided to take her in? Bad luck followed them. She ruins everything she touches. You just don't get it, Brian. She was probably looking for someone to rely on, and you walked right into it. Hundreds and thousands of women out there, and you choose the one no one wants. Bernice, why do you say so much about me? I have always been nothing but nice to you. I have wanted you to accept me as part of this family, but it seems like you are determined to see the worst in me. Mom, I think Monica is right. It's time for us to find our own place as soon as possible. Brian, well, he had always been the listener in his relationship with his mom, often staying silent and just taking in what she had to say. Brian and I set out to find a small apartment of our own. I should also mention that Lisa and Robert, my parents, had a will in place, and in it, They left me a significant sum of money. Half of that money was used for the purchase of our apartment, but here's the thing, it was under Brian's name. As time went on, things started to change. Brian received a well-deserved promotion at work, and with it came a significant bump in his income. He had always traveled a lot for work. It was clear that Brian had reached whatever Bernice referred to as his potential, and it seemed to give him a certain level of smug satisfaction. He was proud of his achievements, and I was genuinely happy for him. But there was something off about his behavior. It felt like he had been pumped up by his mom, and it was affecting our relationship. During those 9 months of pregnancy, Brian was not really around much due to his demanding work schedule. It left me with a lot of alone time, but it was not all bad. Sometimes Austin and his girlfriend Lorna would come to visit. Lorna and I hit it off, and we would have these fantastic girls' nights. We would watch cheesy movies, indulge in my pregnancy cravings, and just gossip. Time passed, and it was only about 2 weeks before my due date when Brian finally came home. "It's good to have you back, especially with the baby almost here." "Yeah, I'm glad to be here too, babe. I need to talk to you about something." "What is it?" "Monica, I've been talking to Mom these last few months, and it seems like she's started to come to accept you and the baby. Do you think we should call her over for the birth?" "Really? That's a change. Well, if you think she's genuinely coming around and wants to be part of our lives, then yeah, Brian. It might be a good idea to have her there with us." About 2 weeks after our conversation, my water broke. And that's when the roller coaster ride of childbirth began. Let me tell you, it wasn't the smoothest journey. The labor pain hit hard, and I felt like I was in a pressure cooker about to blow. But then things took a scary turn. It wasn't just the regular labor drama. Nope. We had some fetal stress and maternal hemorrhage happening at the same time. Talk about double trouble. The doctors went into overdrive to save both of us. The medical team decided to do an emergency C-section, and I was out like a light. When I finally came to my senses, I had this beautiful baby girl in my arms, and I named her Roxy. Brian and Bernice were nowhere to be found. I was shifted into a private room, and the doctors told me I needed to stay there for some time till I fully recovered. The trauma of that birth experience left me forever changed. I was so close to the edge, so close to losing it all, that it shook me to my core. The whole ordeal was pretty darn scary. Just when I was processing everything in my room, Brian and Bernice came in. "Brian, where have you been? Did you take a look at our little girl?" I finally decided on Roxy as her name. She looks like a little Roxy, and oh, she's got your nose. "Monica, I've got some really bad news. The medical bills for childbirth are astronomical, and I don't think we can handle it. They want us to pay a huge sum, and God knows how many days you're going to spend in this room. That means nothing but more bills, and I just can't do it." "Brian, what are we going to do? I mean, we can't just leave a massive bill unpaid. I have some of the money left from what my parents left me." "That's not what I'm trying to say. This is a nightmare for me. My mom was right all along. I should have listened. I'm sorry, but we can't do anything. You should call Austin or someone to figure this out. We're leaving." "What do you mean?" "Oh, what he means is he is finally seeing the light. I told him you would be nothing but trouble. Look, Monica, I've got a good position now, and if I pay for this, it's going to derail all my plans and dreams. I will not be able to get that fancy car I've been eyeing, and I won't be able to keep up with the lifestyle I want for myself. I can't sacrifice it. I'm leaving you the apartment. You can stay there." "Brian, we can find a way. We can work this out together. This is the daughter we are talking about." "Well, your daughter. I don't want to get involved. I can't deal with this burden right now. I need to figure things out, and I don't want you or the baby to be part of that process. I'll let you know if I change my mind. Brian, you'll let me know if you change your mind, won't you? This is not some dinner I've asked you to come for. I can't believe you're leaving us like this. Do you even realize what I've been through? The emotional distress, the trauma of childbirth, and now you're just walking away, leaving me with this enormous bill? You need to understand, Monica, you are not our responsibility. Brian can do whatever he wants. Call your so-called brother or whoever, we don't care. Son, it's time for us to leave. Sure, Mom. Bye, Monica. So there I was, broken, abandoned, and drowning in bills. I cried my heart out for what felt like an eternity, feeling like my world had crumbled. But then I called Austin, my big brother. He was furious about the situation, but he was there for me, no questions asked, and he wasn't alone. Lorna was by his side as well, and they both stepped in to be my support system. I spent the next 10 days in the hospital recovering, while Austin and Lorna juggled everything else. They got me food and baby supplies, and most importantly, they got me through the darkest time in my life. When the day came for my discharge, I needed to deal with the huge hospital bill. It was a monster, and I did not know how I was going to tackle it. But there was Austin once again being the hero. He paid a whopping 75% of that bill, and I chipped in as much as I could. He took me to the house he and Lorna were living in, which, by the way, used to be our parents' place. It was part of the will, you see. Lisa and Robert left me the money, but the house belonged to Austin now. You know, Monica, we could teach your husband and your mom-in-law a lesson they won't forget. Maybe even get your husband behind bars for deserting you like this. Austin, I appreciate your support, but I still hope that Brian will come to his senses someday. He is the father of Roxy after all, and despite everything, I don't want to give up on that possibility. I never really liked him, you know? Even from the start, he didn't seem right for you. It was all just so fast and sudden. Give her a break, babe. She just got back from the hospital. I know you've always had my back, Austin. It's just, I hope that someday Roxy can have a relationship with her father, and who knows, maybe people can change. Monica, whatever you decide, we are in this together. Monica, you know you're welcome to stay with us for as long as you want. This is your home, too. Absolutely, Monica. I work from home as a realtor, so I have my fair share of free time. We can all take care of Roxy together. You guys, I don't even know how to thank you. I was lost, and you both just saved me. I think I would like to say, this is where I need to be right now. So, there you have it. That chat with Austin and Lorna was like 4 years ago. Time flew by and a lot has happened since then. A year later, Brian asked me for a divorce. He had met someone new and it seemed like he had not changed a bit. It hurt, especially for Roxy. He did not seem to care much about his own daughter, which was heartbreaking. But life had other plans for me. I decided to focus on different things in life. I didn't want to start dating again or get caught up in all that drama. I had my sights set on my career. I had a business degree and it was time to put it to use. I sold the apartment I got in alimony and used the funds to kickstart my own business. Fast forward to now, and I'm doing pretty well. Well, let me be honest, I have been blessed beyond words. My little business turned out to be a big hit. With my new financial security, I was able to buy a beautiful home in the same neighborhood as Austin and Lorna. Talking about those two lovebirds, they also got hitched in the span of these last 4 years. You must be wondering what happened to Brian and Bernice, right? I was too. I mean, did Brian just waltz off into the sunset with the love of his life and live happily ever after? I had all these questions swirling around in my head, and honestly, I never got proper closure from the past. But about 2 months ago, my phone rang, and it was a call that changed everything. Hello, Monica, it's Bernice. I hope I'm not catching you at a bad time. Bernice? This is quite a surprise. What can I do for you? Well, I saw this article in the local magazine about your business and how well you're doing. I must admit, I was quite impressed. It just reminded me of you, and I thought I should call. Thank you, Bernice. I did not expect to hear from you after all these years. How is Roxy, by the way? Roxy's just fine. Thanks for asking. She's growing up fast. Monica, I was thinking maybe we should catch up. There are things I would like to talk to you about. Things from the past. All good intentions, dear. Don't worry. I'll think about it. I'll drop you a text on this number. All right, darling. Just try to give this old woman a chance to apologize. I couldn't help but feel confused. After all these years, why would Bernice suddenly want to reconnect to apologize? I wanted to get answers. It was a mystery that tugged at the edges of my mind. I decided to text her, and we agreed to meet at a cafe. Bernice, it's been a while. How have you been? Monica, I've been well. It's been quite a journey. I don't know if you've heard about Brian. He's living with his new wife now, and it seems like he's completely cut ties with me. I haven't heard from him in a while. I'm sorry to hear that, Bernice. It must be tough. Monica, I need to say this. I know I was not the best mother-in-law to you, and I said and did some hurtful things. And what happened at the hospital, I want to apologize for all of it. I'm on your team now. Bernice, I appreciate your honesty. I accept your apology. Thank you, Monica. That means more to me than you can imagine. But there is something else I need to talk to you about. What is it? You see, the old house, it's in really bad shape now. I wanted to buy a new one, but I'm in a tough spot financially. I was wondering if you could help me, just a little, to make it happen. You must be kidding me. You just wanted to talk to me into getting you a new house now that you know I'm doing well financially. It's not like that. I really don't have anyone to rely on. Here is the money for the food we ordered, but I won't be having it. I think I'll leave now. So there I was, heading home after that surreal meeting with Bernice. Her plea for help had left me chuckling and scheming, and I could not deny the thrill of a well-constructed plan. You see, I couldn't help but feel that Bernice had underestimated me, thinking she could manipulate me just like she did back in the day. But oh, how things had changed. I was a different person now, and I was ready to play the game. I couldn't help but laugh at the audacity of my own plan that I came up with. Some might call it petty, but I prefer to think of it as justice. The scheme was simple yet satisfying. I decided to have Bernice sell her old house with Lorna's assistance at a price that was a fraction of what it was worth. I would assure Bernice that I would help her buy a new house only to ghost her at the last moment. It might seem harsh, but after everything Bernice has put me through, it felt like a taste of her own medicine. So I texted Bernice again. I decided to take the high road, or at least pretend to, and told her I was sorry for my initial reaction. I assured her that I would help her with some funds to get the new house she wanted. I also mentioned that my sister-in-law Lorna was a realtor and a market expert who could assist her in setting the right price for her house. I told Lorna about the plan, and she was all in. So off we went to Bernice's place. Wow, being here brings back a lot of memories. Yeah, but I need new memories in a new place. Look at how worn out this house is. Well, Bernice, this is not official advice, but I'm sharing it because you're a friend of my husband's sister. To be honest, this house would not cost a penny more than $70,000. What? You must be kidding me. You see, the neighborhood is quite old and the house hasn't been well maintained. It would need a complete renovation and a total makeover. You would have to replace doors and windows and do a lot more. Do you have the funds for all that? I don't. Well, you can seek other opinions, but they'll probably tell you the same. It's quite the project. I had wanted to sell this place independently. It's your call now, Bernice. Well, I'm helping you out anyway, so we'll figure it out together. I couldn't believe how smoothly everything was going. She had put her house up for sale, and it seemed like a perfect match for someone looking for a good deal. In just 2 weeks, the house was sold. It was no surprise, given the affordable price she had set, and the buyers seemed more than happy to take it off her hands. During the same time, I had accompanied Bernice in her search for a new house. The audacity of it all was quite amusing. She was looking for houses in posh neighborhoods, bungalows, and more, all for herself. It was evident that her confidence was on the rise. We finally settled on a house, and I played my role to perfection. I assured Bernice that she didn't need to worry about a thing. I would take care of the new place, allowing her to focus on packing up her old house and making a smooth transition to her new home. When the time came, I even told her that I had paid for the house, ready to hand over all the paperwork on the day she moved in. She believed every word, and my little scheme was working perfectly. The day I had been waiting for finally arrived. It was the day Bernice had to shift to her new house, and I was sitting by my phone waiting for Bernice to call. And then she did. Monica, where are you? You said you would be here with the keys and paperwork and... Nope, Bernice. I didn't actually purchase that house. Seriously? I'm out here with a U-Haul truck full of my stuff, and you're telling me you didn't buy the house? Well, Bernice, it hit me that I couldn't afford that place. You know, it was a real hit to my bank account. What's the deal? I've got nowhere to crash, and all my belongings are in the truck. You're not pulling my leg, are you? Remember when you left me high and dry with those hospital bills? I did try, just like you did back then, but sorry, I still can't be your savior. Unbelievable that you pulled this stunt. Well, call your son, check into a hotel, or figure something out. I'm not fazed. Oh, it looks like Roxy needs me now. Goodbye. I told Austin and Lorna about Bernice's situation, and we could not help but laugh our butts off. It was a moment of sweet revenge, but I guess we all need a bit of that from time to time. I don't really know what's become of Bernice or where she's living these days. Frankly, I don't care. I did to her what she did to me back then. I hope her son got the message as well, that they messed with the wrong woman. Maybe it was a tad petty, but hey, sometimes you have got to get your hands dirty to teach people a lesson. It's a wild world out there, and I'm just living my life, managing my business, and enjoying every moment with Roxy. She'll be starting kindergarten soon, and I can't wait to see the amazing person she's growing into.